Hey everyone, hey, welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Quee here. 2018 is something of a crazy year for battle rap in so many ways. I think explicitly UK battle rap as well, because we've had tons of leagues sprout out, you know, your Chalked Outs, your Code Reds, your Premier Battles, your BRR in the Park, etc. But more interestingly, we've had full-length features made about this thing. I mean, overseas, Bodied is coming out soon, Joseph Kahn, Kid Twist, helming out of all the battlers. A trailer just dropped before we did this episode, and it looks sensational. So definitely check that out on Eminem's page. It's going to be on YouTube, I think, in November. We've got documentaries here as well. I had Tom Worth on the show, co-director of War of Words, which I think is dropping on Sky Store soon, and other online video-on-demand platforms. And over here as well, we have our own, feature-length Versus, which is dropping October, Friday the 19th. So Friday this week, if you listen to this drops on the Monday. I'm incredibly excited about this film. I've got so many questions, and luckily we've got the co-writer, the director, Ed Lilly. Ed, how's it going?
Yo, hello. How you doing? Good intro.
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I mean, you wrote the thing, so your background in battle rap, this wasn't just something you were aware of when you were doing the film. Had you been a fan for a while, or?
Yeah, so how did I get into it? So when I came out of uni, I was in Manchester, and I started making music videos with a number of rappers in Manchester. So I worked with people like Virus Syndicate, Skittles, and then ended up working with High Rise, Flex, and then through that started working with Shotty as well. So I'd kind of like had an interest from that point, and then that sort of progressed to, watching Don't Flop. And yeah, so I'd always been sort of a fan, and had always sort of worked in that kind of area. But yeah, it just like felt like a good subject area, a good genre. British film, hadn't made a battle rap film before. We'd made a number of urban films, a few years ago that got quite samey, and I felt like there was something new to do with that kind of urban genre, really. And battle rap seemed like a sort of great fit for that.
I think on the BBC or some sort of Screen Daily movie website about a year and a half ago, the first rumblings came about that BBC Films were financing this sort of battle rap project. Like, what was the first step? How did this start to form as a thing?
Yeah, so I mean, this process started 6 years ago for me. So Dan and I, who I wrote it with, we were spitballing a load of ideas to start writing a feature, and this is one I was particularly pushing. And when I introduced Dan, who hadn't watched any battle rap, he was just sort of amazed by how intelligent, funny, witty, the camaraderie in battle rap, the community, and he just loved it. And I thought, if somebody who would never usually watch it loved it as much as he did, then perhaps we could find a wider audience, and perhaps if we created the right story, that we could engage a number of different people from all walks of life in it. And so we just wrote it. We spent 2 years on our own, unfunded, unfinanced, with no backing, and we just got a draft, spent 2 years getting a draft of a script that we were happy with, and then we started pitching it to production companies and producers, and the process is long. The whole writing process took 4 years all in all. To the point where we got the film financed, and we were commissioned, and we were ready to start shooting.
And the writing process then, did that encompass the bars? Because I know that like and Jam and Shuffle wrote a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah, they did. So what Dan and I did when we were writing the script was we left a load of placeholders. We knew the content, and we knew the story beats that we needed to hit in the lyrics. And we didn't want the kind of battle raps just to be like a side part or a bit part. We wanted them to be intrinsically linked to the story. Like, there's lots of storytelling techniques and 3-act structure, and you hit certain beats. And we wanted these battle raps to be like Karate Kid, where you have this structure of like, fish out of water, somebody learning a new craft, and this tournament style genre where they move through the ranks and kind of head towards the kind of final big boss at the end. And so we knew what we wanted to write, so we had placeholders. We knew the style and what we wanted to say, and then when we engaged with Rowan and Jem and Tony and Shuffle, we created like a little writer's room where we just did a number of sessions, you know, like particularly working for the main character, for Adam. They wrote all the lyrics for Adam. And then, you know, and they wrote some for his opponents as well, like Joe Van Wade, who plays Blaze. They wrote his lyrics as well. And then once we'd cast, obviously, Shotty and Paige, we knew that we wanted to make sure that there was different voices. We didn't want all of the lyrics written by the same people, because although, you know, the guys are really good at kind of stepping into different styles and creating different voices, you know, Paige and Shotty in particular has a very, very unique voice, obviously. So it was key for him to kind of write his own lyrics.
And getting Shotty involved then, because, you know, he seems like he's the main antagonist, right, in the whole thing. Yeah,
he's the main antagonist. I tweeted the other day, like, you know, it's not a bit part, it's not a cameo. You know, he is one of the 2 or 3 central characters, and it's a big role, you know, for somebody who has acted before. And you know, we all know what Shotty brings as far as his presence, you know, his skill as a battler, his lyricism. You know, but we needed to make sure that he was going to be able to bring that kind of authenticity in his acting. But obviously, having worked with Shotty for 10 years or so, I knew there's so many crossovers in his skill set, in the way he performs on stage, the drama he creates, the way he uses the crowd, you know, like his timing. It's the same for acting. You know, it's just stepping into the role, you know, being focused and getting on with it. And he did it really, really well.
And in the trailer, we see Jem performing. We see Shuffle, I think, in the background. Are there any other battlers, UK battlers, in the film?
Yeah, so we wanted to try and bring as many in as possible. Obviously, it's like we have limited number of roles and limited number of roles. So Shotty, the first time we introduced Shotty, he's battling Shuffle T. So we see a small round from Shuffle T versus Shotty. Which is good. And then we see a small round from Shotty versus Shuffle T. And, you know, like they're obviously playing characters, but, you know, there's a little bit of crossover into perhaps what they might say if they were to actually battle. And then, Jem has a small part versus Paige in the middle section. And, originally we had a scene with Tony in as well, but through the editing process, unfortunately, that got cut. So sorry to Tony about that, but he knows. And we just tried to bring as many in as possible.
And I should say, just before we went on air, I asked on the groups, on Twitter, etc., and we got loads of good questions. We are live streaming this as well, so if you've got any questions at all about the film for Ed, let us know in the comments and we'll get to them. One interesting question from Opwo asking, and I guess it's kind of hard to answer this before it's been released, how do these smaller films turn a profit? It looks good, but I do wonder how they make money off it when it's not being advertised as much as big mainstream films. How many people have to see it for it to be profitable?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's hard for me to answer that because I'm not a financier and I'm not a producer. But, I mean, the thing about the advertising is, like, we've just hit 2 weeks out from our release. So you should start seeing it more. You know, the ad campaigns around Instagram.
It's in the underground, right? There's a poster.
Yeah, it's all over the underground. So, like, you know, that's a big look. And we've got a campaign with Lab Bible that we're working on at the moment that goes live next week.
Cool.
So that will help push it. I'm hoping that you'll start seeing it more. Like, really, campaigns start about 2 weeks out for these films. So we'll see. But yeah, as far as like how much money it's got to make, etc., I wouldn't really know. Like, no. It's down to other people, really. Yeah,
and I mean, let's talk about releases as well. Like, is this going to be in all the cinemas? Is Mark Commode going to review this? Like, he reviews everything. I was thinking, is he going to watch this?
Yeah, well, we hope so. I hope Mark Commode sees it. I mean, you know, because we haven't had a festival launch yet. Our festival launch is unusually 1 week before our general release. So we haven't had public press reviews, but we've had a lot of private press reviews, you know, like a lot of private press screenings. So we've got a good gauge of what the press response is going to be. Like, it's been really good generally. And, you know, I'm looking forward on Saturday when we have our London Festival premiere. That's the day that all the press are allowed to go live with the reviews. So again, you should start seeing a little bit more, you know, in music and mainstream press. Whether or not we'll get Mark Commode and that Guardian, Times, Telegraph kind of level, I don't know. You know, if they see something in it, I think, you know, the angle is that there's not many British films made for youth audiences at the moment. You know, we're trying to do something different. I think the trailer's gone down pretty well. It's fresh, and we'll see. We'll see kind of what level like it gets picked up with. But like this week, like me, Paige, Shotty, Jovan, Connor, Fowler, you know, all doing press on the film. So yeah, we'll see where we get to.
And is this going to be like across the country in Odeons? Is it going to be in sort of smaller picture houses? Like,
yeah, so they're still building the list of cinemas. So yeah, it's going to be Odeon, Cineworld, View, Showcase. I think at the moment the list of cinemas it's opening in is running at about 100 for the Friday.
Wow!
But they're hoping to get it close to 120, 130, 140. So yeah, this is the way with films like this, you know, especially when nobody's really seen it yet. Like obviously they've been doing screenings for exhibitors. What I will say as well is that we've got that that Gem versus Cortez battle.
Yes.
Which we are gonna broadcast live in cinemas on Friday the 19th, the day of release. So what you'll be able to do is before the film, that battle will happen live in cinemas, and then the film will screen. So yeah, that will hopefully be, you know, a good event to help people into the cinemas.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the questions were saying, like, you know, where's it going to be? Is it going to be in independent picture houses? Are you going to do a tour and stuff? But that's so cool to see that it's having such a wide release, and you know, it's so great. And I do hopefully think Commode, Touchwood, he seems to cover loads of stuff, so I don't see why Simon Mayo be confused as you speak about it. But that's going to be really, really cool to see. And it's going to be in Ireland as well. Rudy asking if anyone in Ireland can see it.
Yeah, it's in UK and Ireland. Like I got the list through actually today. It will be in Ireland somewhere, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly which cinema. Basically, in the next couple of days, hopefully they're going to be publishing like the actual list on the website. They're just trying to get it all confirmed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the you know, architecture that needs to be put in place there. But this is again so cool to see. And for you, is this quite a surreal thing that this thing you've been working on for 6 years is going to be in cinemas in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's quite surreal. I mean, I think definitely when I started seeing the posters on the tube, like that was a moment. Like I went into work, and we're working on different stuff to do with the release, and literally on the way in I saw 3 just sort of on my way to work. So yeah, I had a good moment about that. But I mean, when you've been working on something for so long, it's very tiny steps, you know, everything takes so long, so it's never like this big kind of moment. But I feel like the premiere on the 13th, you know, at London Film Festival will be a good moment, and then obviously the general release on the 19th, you know, those days I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, someone in the comments saying they've seen ads on a few YouTube vids already, so it is getting out there. And, you know, I think a lot of people are excited and want to show out for this, you know, and this is a huge moment, really, for the UK scene. And I suppose, you know, we mentioned this in the intro, are you aware of sort of this nexus point we're reaching now with documentaries and obviously Bodied overseas? It's quite a weird coincidence, isn't it, for them to be released so close?
It's a really weird coincidence. I've seen a couple of comments or questions asking if kind of we took inspiration. Obviously, having started 6 years ago just on our own, it's like we didn't even know about Bodied until about 2 months we started shooting. So we're about 4.5 years into the process before I found out about Bodied, and they I guess they probably found out about us about the same time, you know. So it's a really weird coincidence. I mean, the thing is, it's like once we've got the film financed, once we've made it, once we've delivered it to the financiers, there's no guarantee that the film's getting released in cinemas. There's all these little gates that you have to get through. So, you know, we've got this film and we show it to all the studios, Lionsgate, you know, like Universal, you know, whatever. And then you work out who's going to release it, and then you work out how much money they're going to put into it, how wide it's going to be. And, you know, it is unusual for any film of this size, you know, British film, to have such a wide release. Like it doesn't really happen, particularly, you know, a film, you know, an urban, in quote marks, urban film rap battle thing. It's unusual. So, you know, we didn't know when it was going to be released, if it was going to be released, and yeah. So when, you know, Bodied were doing the same, like the same people that were watching Versus, like the distributors were watching Bodied as well for the UK. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of them were weighing up, are we going to take Bodied? Are we going to take Versus? Is there an option to take both? You know, like all that kind of stuff. And, you know, in the end, obviously Bodied signed to YouTube, and they're not going to have a UK theatrical release, which, you know, YouTube's a great space for Bodied, and, you know, I think it's going to do really well. And I've seen it. I saw it at Fight Fest, and I just thought it was hilarious, like particularly the first 30 or 40 minutes. Like, the audience reaction was amazing. You know, the battle raps were great. You know, but what I will say about Bodied is, like, I couldn't have made that film. You know, that I couldn't have made that style of battle rap film. Yeah. You know, if you want to be really generic about it, you know, you have something that's quite British in its tone and style and genre, and Bodied is very American in its tone, style, and genre, and its storytelling. You know, and like, I just think that's really interesting in itself, that you've got two battle rap films coming out at the same time, and they're both completely different.
George asking in the comments, can we expect a Netflix release? I guess ultimately you want to do something in that ballpark eventually, right? Yeah,
again, it's not really down to me. So what happens is, like, the film gets sold around the world to the different territories for theatrical release. So we've sold it to China, we've sold it to the Middle East, Scandinavia, the US as well. So it will have to go, you know, go through that. Whether or not it will go on Netflix, I don't know. It depends, you know, if Netflix, it will be a while down the line, because, you know, it gets a theatrical release. So, you know, hopefully if it does well in theatres, Netflix think, well, everyone's seen it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's a possibility, but nothing confirmed yet.
Yeah, I mean, Danny asking about like a home release as well. So would that be an idea, perhaps? Is that even viable in today's markets, or?
Yeah, again, I don't know. We'll have to come and we'll have to see. You know, Sky might come in and say, yeah, we'll take it, or I don't know. It will definitely, in early New Year, it will be available to buy online. You know, like iTunes, Amazon, whatever. I think that's the plan. But whether or not it will be going free on a streaming site, I'm not sure. It just depends how they do all the deals.
Joy asking, what effect does Ed think its release will have on the battle rap scene? Okay, so two-part question. What effect do you think its release will have on the scene? And also, how can we as fans help promote the film?
Yeah, I think, you know, what we wanted to do was bring contemporary British battle rap to new audiences. Like, that was a big part of making the film. And, you know, I think, you know, for people who aren't a fan of the scene, then, you know, their kind of only experience of battle rap is 8 Mile. You know, it's freestyle on beat, you know, quite aggressive, you know, not that much humor, light-heartedness, tongue-in-cheek, camaraderie, all that stuff that we know British battle rap has. And so, yeah, that was a big part of wanting to try and bring it to new audiences. And I just, you know, I wanted to make a film that stayed true to kind of what battle rap is, you know, and the way we thought we'd do that was mainly in the lyricism. You know, bringing on those guys, you know, casting Shotty, casting Paige, who although she isn't a battle rapper, you know, she's authentically a rapper. We're all really important points to just try and get across that authenticity. It's really difficult. You're never going to please everybody, obviously, as you know, with anything that you do. But, you know, we really have tried hard along the way to make sure that, you know, the core battle rap fans can appreciate certain elements of the film. You know, you might not like the story, or you might like the drama better than the battles, or whatever. You know, everyone's going to like something different. But, you know, we've really tried to kind of get across an authentic kind of portrayal of what battle rap is in this country now.
And let's just focus a little bit back on the cast themselves. So Fola Evans is from Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, she's done a small part in Game of Thrones at some point. Yeah, she's now shooting another show called Siren, which is a mermaid show that she shoots in Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and she's done various other bits.
And the main man, Connor, It seems from the trailer to have given a really emotional performance.
Yeah, Connor is an incredible actor. We did a big open. I don't know. Some of you remember. I think we publicly advertised this. Like, we did a big open casting,
right,
where we saw people who'd never acted before, and then we saw a lot of actors who had acted before, and we just did a lot of improvised workshops. And Connor was an actor who'd done a little bit here and there, who came into one of those, and as soon as he kind of stepped into the room, we knew that he had the right energy, the right look, the right vibe for the character we'd written. And his performances through the auditions and then in the film just got better and better. And the great thing about Connor is that he's able and he's willing and courageous enough to kind of draw on like some really difficult personal experiences and bring them into his performance, and that's where you get some really special moments. And actually, I think, judging from the press reactions and judging from audience screenings and stuff, and people comment to me, like, the surprising element of Versus is kind of the emotional storytelling and the emotional side of it. Multiple people have come out and said that they cried at various points in the film. And, that was really important to us as well, not to make people cry, but just to have a story that that engaged on that kind of level. Whether when I watch a film, I want to be moved, I want to be entertained, I want to be made angry, I want to be made happy. Just something that affects me or gives me an insight into someone else's life or a different part of the world that I've never experienced before. So, yeah, Connor was great. Yeah. And he's shot a lead with Gerard Butler in a film called Keepers, which is due out in January via Lionsgate. And then he's also just finished on a Netflix show in one of the lead roles called Sex Education, which again comes out January 4th on Netflix.
Well, I can't wait to see this film. It's been called a contemporary hip-hop classic. Jamal Edwards gave it 5 stars as well, which is a pretty ringing endorsement on the poster. It's in cinemas October 19th, Friday the 19th. If you listen to this in the future, go support, go buy, go watch. I mean, out of interest, Ed, what was the last Battle Rap event that you went to? Do you go to events still, or...?
Yeah, so what did we go to? We went to one at Concrete just before we started shooting, actually.
Okay.
What battle was it? Was it Shocks?
Shocks versus Soul.
Was it Shocks Soul? No, maybe it wasn't.
That was Checkpoint 4, that was, so...
Yeah, we went to Nil as well when Scoop did the...
the Charger.
After bar, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, yeah.
That was good. Since then, I don't know if I've been to... I went to Premier Battles, actually, earlier year. I think I went to the first event was it in January?
Yeah, the one in Manchester.
Yeah. So I went to Premier Battles there.
Okay, yes, a pretty legendary event. I mean, in the future, depending on the success of this, if you ever make a battle rap film again, I think just a fictionalized version of the rise and fall of Don't Flop would be incredible. I think, you maybe do a mini series out of this. I mean, it's kind of falling apart, but kind of coming back together again. So, I guess finally, anything you'd like to share? I guess there's a Twitter page, isn't there, for the film as well? Yeah,
there's a Twitter page versus the movie. We're looking to film, obviously, Shuffle versus Jazz and get that out next week before the release. That would be a good one. And yeah, it's just to say, films like this rely on strong opening weekends. So, if you do want to support it, if you do want to go and see it, Friday for the Gem Battle or Saturday or Sunday, would be a great time to go and do it, because that will just hopefully help spread the word. The more that it takes at the box office, the more cinema screens it goes into.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to urge people, as I'm sure they will, to go and see this film. I can't believe it, really, because I don't know, in my head it was going to just go to little places like in Birmingham. They have this place called the Electric Cinema, and Ultimate Picture Palace in Oxford. These beautiful flop houses, but it's actually going mainstream, like to Cineworld and Odeon and stuff. So that's so fucking cool. So yeah, we'll put all the links down below for all the Twitters, all the Facebook, all that sort of stuff. Go support the film, and Ed, thanks again. Thanks for your time.
No problem, man. Good to chat.